Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today, and today we are going to talk about the submarines on the public test server. And yeah, this is probably my, I don't know how many time re-record of this particular video, because I struggle to find the words to talk about this class. And that's pretty rare. I don't usually like run out of words or don't not have the right words to talk about something. But the submarines in World of Warships, in their current form, feel exactly that. It's this confused class that doesn't really seem to do anything different. I mean, ah. I mean, let's talk about the only couple of good things, because there's a couple of good things. Okay, so the models look good. The models actually look good. The fact that they spend time on the surface is a good thing. The fact that their dive is not unlimited because there's now a dive timer is a good thing. Yeah. I think that's about all the positives. And the other part is not really also much negative. It's just sort of confusion. Is that a good way to put it? I don't know. I struggle with this class. I struggle to find the right terms to even talk about it at times, right? Because it's like with other classes, there's this gameplay loop for those other classes, which I think for most of the original classes make a lot of sense. You know, the reworked CVs were the first indication of sort of bad gameplay design. And submarines feel more in the direction of the reworked CVs. They're a very, very, at times, simplistic gameplay loop. You know, your entire gameplay loop is get into some kind of position, ideally within range of a large battleship that you want to hit, fire torpedoes and then ping, or ping and find fire torpedoes, whichever, you know, you prefer. And you pray that the other player, it doesn't do things to counteract you. Now, of course, if you're playing a co-op game against bots, that is pretty much what happens, right? Like, a lot of the bots don't do a lot of things to counter you. So that's fine. But with real players, it's like, I don't find it all that fun. And this is being on the submarine side, you know. I mean, on the surface battleship side, there's gonna be annoyances for sure. But even as a submarine, I don't find it necessarily all that enjoyable. Because even, let's say, if I do home things correctly, and I do get the hits, and I do land the things, you know, that's that. Just, hey, you got your torpedoes to home. It wasn't like I really did all that much. You know, it was like, okay, I got myself into a position. I launched my torpedoes. I pinged a target. And with the pinging, yes, you have to learn a little bit of how to lead a target. And there's weirdness to pinging as well. You know, sometimes you can, like, if you're moving in weird directions, the ping looks really off. But I mean, all that you can learn and you can deal with. But it's like, even after all that, like let's imagine for a second that this bot over here, this bot battleship here, is a player. Take a look at all I'm doing. See, I've launched my torpedoes, and I just make sure that that ping sticks. I got a kill, not because I actually did a lot of damage, because the bot detonated. And that's the loop for every single target, essentially. You're basically pinging, and you are... That's it. That's all you're really doing. Destroyers are annoying. Really, really, really annoying. But the thing is about destroyers is if they want to come in for like a kind of a, you know, a depth charge attack, it's not that easy for them. So you'll see this really funny scenario, right? Like, if I stay here and I'm on the surface and I get spotted, the destroyer can shoot at me and he get damaged, right? And that's fine. But if I dive, the destroyer usually has to sort of get close, right, in order to come and depth charge me. Well, the whole problem for the destroyer is that if the destroyer, for example, is spotted, I can just ping him, right, like, you know, like this, whatever, and then wait for the destroyer to come towards me. And if he comes towards me, as long as I just reverse, and this is sort of the same strategy that worked before, if I just reverse, at the right kind of depth, I can just come up and just shotgun him in the face, and most destroyers don't walk away from that. Kind of a weird design. Oh, and check this out. This is going to be another really crazy thing. The homing torpedoes. Like, you'll see what I mean. This feels insane. You'll see what I'm saying in a second. So I fired the torpedoes. Look at the direction that they went. They went sort of way off a little bit, right? And the destroyer died because the other submarine killed it. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens if I just ping this cruiser. Look at the torpedoes. They're actually turning from there, and they're making a turn towards this cruiser that I'm trying to hit. Look at that. You see the green lines? Like, the green line says it's like, you know, it's the homing is locked on, and it's making the maneuver. That's, I don't know. That is not all that fun of a mechanic for me. I just, this whole pinging thing and this homing a torpedo thing doesn't, it's not satisfying, I guess. It's like, even if I do hit torpedoes and you know, these things homed all the way and they hit it, is it my act of hitting my pings that's doing that? Or is it just like, hey, look, these torpedoes can do these crazy maneuvers. Like, you know, they can come in from way over there. You know, that's hard to say. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm doing all that much, right? It feels like the torpedoes were more amazing than me. Like, hey, look, these torpedoes were really amazing, but like all I did was just boringly ping stuff. Like, I don't know. And the torpedoes, they'll take their own very interesting pathways at times. Let's just let's use that interesting pathway as an explanation. They will really truly at times go in really interesting directions. I mean, you'll see some they'll just go, you know, way one way, and then some of them will just continue kind of straight. It's really bizarre. You'll see that in a second as well. Oh yeah, and by the way, watch what happens in this one, because it's basically my team has two submarines and CV. Their team has the same, and the tier 6 American submarine on my team is going after their carrier. Well, good luck to him, because it's going to take him a while, right? Oh, okay, watch this. This is another one of those really bizarre things. So I get a ping on the enemy submarine, which is like 6 point something kilometers away. And look at the torpedoes. Like, look, one just veers off to, like, that's really weird. And then the other thing is, I have my hydrophone on, but after the first little bit, while the enemy submarine was easily within range, because the German hydrophone is like 7.5 kilometers, I can't spot him again. Just disappears, basically. Like, how does this make any sense? I don't understand how these things got designed, right? Okay, so I get a lucky ping there, and the torpedo sort of re-home. Enemy submarine, I guess, is now obviously moving, but like, I couldn't spot him again. It was like, okay, so it's super weird, right? Yeah, it's just a really bizarre thing. There's a lot of weirdness with submarines, is the way I find it. And then those torpedoes just went, yeah, they just went dumb, because I couldn't spot the guy anymore. So the submarine on submarine combat, it can be exciting at times, and I will say there's been like maybe 1 or 2 battles with submarines where it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of exciting. But in a lot of cases, the weirdness of the way that the underwater vision seems to work at times, you know, the fact that the hydrophone doesn't always work correctly, and things are a little awkward, means that, yeah, you have weird situations like that. I'd almost say that going back a couple of versions, when they actually went with just it was like the Germans had the hydroacoustic, the Americans had something, and like the Russian submarines had the heel, whatever, I almost felt like that was a better system, because it actually created more diversity. The current ones are just nothing. I mean, the German specialty is it's got a consumable that allows it to have a free 30-second underwater period. And the American submarine is it can just dive faster. Wow. You know, that's the specialty of the... It's just... the design just feels really... Oh, I just... The design is just super weird. Like, it just doesn't seem to mesh together into one cohesive class that interacts with the other classes in a good, cohesive manner. That, I think, is really what I'm feeling about submarines. You know, the design is just simple. You know, I mean, the whole gameplay is, can you ping stuff and do your torpedoes not go stupid and they home in on stuff? And then, you know, does the opponent not press an R key to just negate your ability to make anything home? Because if they hit the R key, your torpedoes immediately go stupid, right? Like, you hit your DCP and the torpedoes just go dumb. So, and it's like, let's say you're underwater and you fired them and the torpedoes were initially tracking, and, you know, they're tracking, oh, things are looking good, and then, oh, look, there's the DCP. Well, there we go. That's the you know, whatever amount of time to reload my torpedoes and get all those pings. All that effort goes out the window. It's just... It's amazing to me that after so many iterations of these submarines, the end result literally actually feels worse than some of the earlier designs. I mean, I don't even know if that's even possible or not. It's just such an uninspired gameplay. Like, how did that ping not hit the... Like... You know... Oh my god. Yep. And then the other thing, and speaking of which, the other thing about submarines is they're very, very, very much like feast or famine type kind of ships. There has been more than a few times where I've actually walked out of the game and did absolutely no damage to anybody. This is like nada. Okay, now, it's possible this is because it is, you know, some bots and stuff like that, so I can understand that. By the way, yeah, if you noticed, our other submarine killed the CV after how long? Think about when I last told you guys to pay attention to that, right? It's taken that submarine that long to kill that CV because he can't get his torpedoes to hang, to ping and to have the torpedoes guide. Can't ping because the CV's got like over a minute worth of like DCP or whatever. And next thing you know, it's like the submarine eventually got close enough to use a secondary. So it's like just, you know. So here we go, submarine on submarine battles, right? So here we go. Like, you see what I mean? Like, this pinging thing, like, I don't feel like I'm doing all that much, right? I'm not like getting to the perfect spot and firing my torpedoes and nailing things perfectly because I did it. It's because, oh look, the torpedoes homed the right way. Hurrah. It's just such a weird thing. It's just such a weird feeling when playing like just playing submarines. I don't know how you guys are finding it. You know, like, maybe some people out there, maybe you guys are like really enjoying the submarines, but for whatever the reason, as many chances I try for these ships, and I've given them like quite a bunch of battles now, I just find them very boring. Oh, and speaking of which, and the other thing as well, with other ship classes, as you sort of progress, your ship sort of changes. There's new capabilities and there's, I don't know, like things that you can do with the new ships that you can never do before. With submarines, that nope, that doesn't really happen. Yes, there's some adjustments to how, you know, you have a little bit more firepower, you have a little bit more battery, you're a little bit faster or whatever, but that's about it. It's like, you know, the job is the same, the role is the same, the things you're supposed to do is exactly the same. There's no new things that you can do compared to, in fact, the tier 6 submarine felt better than tier 8 submarine, and the tier 8 felt better than tier 10. Like, how is that even possible, right? But here we are, you know. All in all, just, I find the submarines to just be incredibly simplified, simple, just, it once again feels like they're catering to that, like, can we just grab a bunch of people, have them play submarines, and then who cares what the long term is? And it seems that that pattern is repeating, right? Like, we had the problem with the CV rework, and it seems like the same ugly thing is rearing its head once again when it comes to submarines. Really simplified, really boring gameplay loop. Very, very quick to get bored. It's like, that's the thing. You get bored in record time with this class. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.